Let me introduce myself. I used to work at Google. I ran my startup FutureCam. I worked as CTO of a startup, and I now work as a consulting CTO. Today we are going to explore why PubSub leads to spaghetti code. What is PubSub in the first place? It's a design pattern where you define an object for each notification, like this, for example. Lock or unlock modes. This is the name you have given it. It's an object of a certain type, which you don't need to worry about because it's iOS specific. I'll illustrate PubSub with iOS code, but the concept is applicable across languages and platforms. So to use PubSub, you create an object for each of the types of notifications that you want. And then once you define it, it can be published from multiple places. So for example, here, or here, or here, or here, right? A whole bunch of places where it can be posted. So you post it or you publish it. And you can even subscribe or observe from multiple places. In our code, we have only one observer or subscriber. And you write some code that should be run when this notification is posted. The interesting thing is that the subscriber does not need to know how many publishers there are. It is completely decoupled. So if we have one more place where we start publishing this, or one fewer place, this code doesn't change. As opposed to a delegate or a callback, where you have to register it with each publisher. So the three publishers or three classes publishing it. For example, user defaults, IAP service, and IAP controller. You have to register with each of the three. The other advantage of PubSub is even if it's fired from only one place, it can be handed off. If A is subscribing to B, B can hand off the responsibility to C, and C can hand it off to D. And A, the subscriber, doesn't need to know. So this means subscribe B. So A subscribes to B, but B can hand it off to C, and C can hand it off to D. And A still receives the notifications because it is decoupled. PubSub also removes the boilerplate that you would otherwise have to write to add a listener, remove a listener, have a list or array to store the listeners, and iterate over them to invoke each of them. So PubSub seems good, right? It gives you all these advantages. What are the problems with it? One is spaghetti code. You are posting it in one class and receiving it somewhere far away. In fact, this is a UI layer class. This is not even a UI layer class. So you are able to connect arbitrarily, which is not a good thing because it's a layering violation, or it makes it easy to create layering violations. You want a certain structure and flow of events in a certain manner. Otherwise, the structure of the system will be hard to understand. And such a system has been called the big ball of mud. It's exactly that. It has no structure. That's not what you want. The other problem with notifications is they are dynamically typed. In a dynamically typed language, that's not a problem. In a statically typed language, it is. So if each of these 4 or 5 places where you're posting it sets different parameters on the notification, the observer has to handle all of those variations. And the compiler won't help you. Unlike a function where if you have a function with 3 parameters and some callers pass 2 parameters, the compiler will tell you. I've removed most of the pub-subs from FutureCam and the code is better now. Maybe I'll consider removing this in the future as well. And when I remove it, I'll compare the diffs before and after and see which is easier to understand. If removing pops up makes it easier, I will remove it. If not, I'll keep it, which is why a lot of these decisions have to be pragmatic. You take into account all the considerations we discussed and see which is better. If you'd like me to work with your team in improving code quality, there's a link in the description.